I'm going to demonstrate how you report volunteer service hours for the Oregon Master Naturalist program. Right now I'm on the Oregon Master Naturalist website, and on that site you will find an option for volunteer reporting, so click on that link. This will take you to a page where you can log into your Oregon Master Naturalist account. For this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to locate your volunteer hour form through your main account to log into your Oregon Master Naturalist account. There is also a link to log volunteer hours directly into a reporting form right here, but for this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to find it in your main Master Naturalist account. So I'm going to log into my account, that link, and then you'll log into your Master Naturalist account. That's the account you set up when you registered for a Master Naturalist course. And so it's important that you always use the same account when you log in and report hours, because it connects it to all of the coursework and other requirements that you're asked to complete to become a certified Master Naturalist. So I'm going to log in through my Google account and be my Gmail email address. And what you'll see then is a main landing page. This is kind of like your Master Naturalist dashboard. It should look something like this. And there's a link called Record OMN Volunteer Hours kind of in the center. So click on that. And then what you'll notice is that you have a blank window here. It says no hours recorded yet. This is what it would look like if you were new to reporting volunteer hours. If you've already reported volunteer hours, you'll start to see a list of records that you've submitted in the past. And for this demonstration, we're going to go ahead and create a new volunteer hour record. So I'm going to click on this green button, and up will pop a new recording form. And right now there's not much in there. It says status 0% recorded, and if you click on the what's missing link, you'll see that there's some things you need to enter in order to complete the form. First is the partner organization. So this is who you volunteered for, and you'll click on the All Partner Organizations link here, and you'll notice there's a whole list of volunteer organizations that you can choose from. And to avoid duplicating an organization in our database, rather than clicking on this Add New Partner Organization link down here, we want you to go ahead and search for an organization and make sure it's not already in the database. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in Tualatin River Keepers, and I've intentionally misspelled it. Make sure that you spell the organization correctly, because that way it pops up if it's in the database. And indeed, the Tualatin River Keepers organization is in the database. And so I'm going to go ahead and select that organization. And then I'm going to, so there you have partner organization is now selected. The next step is the volunteer opportunity. This is the activity that you perform for that organization. So click on the Add New Volunteer Opportunity. And in this case, you get to choose what the volunteer opportunity is. A suggestion is to use the activity that they maybe provided to you as an opportunity, as the name for the volunteer opportunity, but you can call it whatever you want, whatever makes sense to you when you look back on your records. In this case, I'm going to use the Fano Creek Greenway planting as the volunteer opportunity name. Click Add Volunteer Opportunity, and then you'll have filled that in. Okay. Notice that the status is continuing to progress with the percentage of the form filled out. The next step is the description. This doesn't have to be very long, but it should be descriptive enough to let us and others know what you actually performed during that volunteer activity. So you'll type that in, and I went ahead and typed in planted native trees, shrubs, and wildflowers along Fano Creek Greenway. Okay, that's short and sweet, descriptive, tells you what you did. Now, the next step is categories. What kind of volunteer activity did you perform? We have divided it into 4 main categories: community science, land stewardship, program support, and education and interpretation. Now, if an organization requires that you go through a volunteer training prior to actually volunteering for an activity, then we recommend that you click on the training box here and enter a single report, or as many reports as you need to document the number of hours you participated in their training. And we encourage you to report those as volunteer time, because you wouldn't be able to volunteer for that organization without the training. In this case, greenway planting is best described by land stewardship. So choose land stewardship. In this case, you could check multiple boxes at once, but it's best practice to go ahead and just choose the best category to fit that activity versus multiple categories. Okay. Next thing is, when did that volunteering occur? The experience date. If you click on the date box, you'll get a calendar. I'm going to go back in time because, of course, you can either report what you've already done or report on the very day that you perform that activity when you're done with the activity. So in this case, I'm going to go back to March. I'm going to choose March 12th, and that gives you the single date that you participated in the volunteer activity. Next is service time, and I'm going to type in 4 hours. And you could do minutes, but hours is sufficient, and you can round up to the nearest hour. Number of people impacted. In this case, we're asking for, did you volunteer for an activity that had an audience or some group that you engaged with? And if you didn't have an audience or engage with a group, you would put 0 in this box. In this case, I'm going to use 0, but obviously stream restoration does impact people, but this is more of a direct, your volunteer service, you interacted with folks directly. Okay, the last thing is I'm going to type in the county. I'm just going to use an example of Washington County. And you could choose another state if you happen to volunteer in another state. Most likely you're going to volunteer in Oregon, maybe Washington as well. So that should complete the volunteer form. Just go back and review, make sure everything's correct, and you'll notice that it's now ready to submit. The status bar on the left, or on the right, I should say, and you can submit that volunteer hour record with the green button at the bottom. You'll notice that it should say successfully submitted, and now you have a record in this window that you first saw when you logged in. There are other ways you can enter volunteer hours from here. One is to add volunteer hour record, use that same button. You'll notice that Tualatin River Keepers is now available for you to choose when you want to, if it's one of your common volunteer organizations. Another option is to click on a new volunteer hour record. If you do click on that, you'll see that you have your partner organizations listed. So Tualatin River Keepers is there. You could select that. And you can go back and search for another organization and choose that. If you click on the Add New Partner Organization, let's say it's not in the list, you would type in that organization's name, be as precise with the spelling and as you possibly can. That's at the organization level. What's the name of the group? And notice that this list is alphabetical, so you can scroll through it alphabetically, and then choose the city in which that organization is located. It may not be the same as where the volunteer activity took place. I'm going to cancel that. I'm also going to get rid of this form. I don't need to submit another one at this point, so I'm going to choose the trash can in the lower right corner. And yes, I want to get rid of that record. The other option is, let's say you do more greenway planning for Tualatin River Keepers and you want to record multiple records for that activity over time. You would click on this copy button. Copy button allows you to pull up a duplicate record. Notice that much of the form is already filled in. The organization is filled in. The volunteer opportunity is filled in. The description is, the category. the things that you would have to maybe focus in on mainly would be the date. The date needs to be filled in because there's not a date on there. So I might choose another date, maybe March 26th in this case. The other option is if you wanted to save up all the hours for a particular activity over the course of a full year, you can choose this multiple days box. And let's say you started in March, and then this activity went all the way through May, and it ended on, let's say, May 21st. So let's say that's the span of time you did this restoration work. And instead of one event of 4 hours, it was a total of, let's say, 26 hours, okay, over that period of time. And then again, 0 people impacted, no audience members. And then it should be ready to report that option, this report, I should say. Now, the form does look like it needs something, but if you click on the what's missing link, it should kind of update, or there's this little update button up in the upper right corner. Now it says everything's ready to go. You've entered all the required information and you submit the volunteer hour record. When you do that, you now have 2 records that have a total of 30 hours of service time. Notice that you're almost ready to get your first 40 hours of volunteer time. 40 hours is the minimum required. We encourage you to report all the service that you perform as a volunteer through the Master Naturalist program or other natural resources volunteering, because that shows that the greatest amount of impact for the Master Naturalist program. So don't be shy and enter as much of the service that you do over the course of a year as you possibly can. Don't just stop at 40 hours. Now from here you can do several things. You can look at a record by clicking the view link, okay, or you can edit it. Let's say you made a mistake and you didn't want to, let's say it was the wrong date, or maybe the service time was wrong. Let's say you actually meant to put in 20 hours. You can update that. Now it says done editing. You click done editing. And now you've got 20 hours instead of 26 hours. You can click on the refresh window, and then it'll retabulate the service time to 24 hours. Lastly, if you maybe you've duplicated a record accidentally, it's the same exact one as another one, you can click on the trash can icon on the right here and delete a record. That should pretty much do it for how to enter volunteer hours, the basic steps. I hope this video was useful and helpful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to help if you get stuck.